Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us for today's session. I know it's a difficult time because it's lunchtime hour, so you have to make decisions what to do, so I appreciate everyone being here. We came here last year and we presented how S&P Global uses Databricks, specifically for business intelligence and automating with Tableau. This year, we're showcasing how we're using both Databricks and Plotly effectively to build data applications to deliver insights to our end users. So just maybe starting with pleasantries and the agenda, there's an overarching theme between the whole kind of presentation and what we've built of how do we really approach taking data and converting it into insights. So the general structure of what we're going to be discussing today, we start with a brief introduction, who we serve, so who S&P serves in terms of users, personas, what are some of the market and client trends that we see speaking with clients, how do we actually convert what we do, how do we convert data into insights, and then we also showcase some of the Capital IQ apps that we've built using S&P data, combining Databricks for all of the engineering and the workflows, and using Plotly for the actual UI and packaging the data applications. So the first kind of 5 bullet points should hopefully take about 10-15 minutes, and that's all. That should be covering most of the slides. And then hopefully, I'm going to be able to demo a couple of the apps. Just to let you know, I'm kind of famous for having technical issues, so if something goes wrong, just bear with me. So, starting with just a little bit about myself, I've been with S&P for about 8 years. I've been a product specialist across a number of different solutions at the company. Specifically, I've been a product specialist at a web application, which is called Capital IQ Pro, which is for research and workflows. I've supported Excel for building financial models, and then I moved as a solution architect into the data world, where a solution architect in our company is kind of the same with regards to any of the companies on the modern data stack, which is we support pre and post sales for data management. And over the last few years, we partnered with Databricks to create Workbench, which is effectively a white label solution to accelerate how clients evaluate trials. So all of these kind of things kind of led up to the current initiative that we're doing, which is we're building data applications on top of our data to build and validate some of the insights that you can derive from the hundreds of different data sets that we have available. So I just wanted to start with just a brief definition, which we'll circle back to towards the end of the presentation. So what is a data application? It's effectively kind of a marriage between a data visualization and a web application. So it's interactive, it's visual, it's web-based application, and it's designed to derive sophisticated or deep analysis and provide that to the end users that use it. And what you actually see on the right-hand side is one of the ones that we've built, which we'll show you at the end during the demo. So going back to kind of the big picture overview, who is S&P Global? It's 5 divisions, 5 distinct markets that we serve. Specifically, we're part of market intelligence that focuses on financial services, where we take data, generate tools, analytics for users to be able to make decisions. And some of the clients that we actually serve are very diverse and very broad. So I wanted just to showcase the variety of different clients, because when you think of all of the different users and personas that we serve, they're all very different. They have different tasks. They build different things. They do different. They're very different in terms of what we provide when we think about data applications. Different segments use data in different ways, and even some segments take the same data, but they use the same data sets in a variety of different ways. So when we think of data applications, keep in mind some of the personas, and keep in mind what segments we're actually trying to kind of support for research and analysis across the segments. Okay, so in order to kind of help us imagine who we're serving, we kind of want to abstract some of the different types of users that are within those segments. And what we have on the left-hand side is a kind of a very simple, a 3-layer architecture of how we imagine we build these applications. And we do it very distinctly. So we have the data, that we tend to provide and share to our clients. We then build logic and methodology on top of the data. Could be business logic, could be some sort of an AI model that sits on top of the data. And then we have the UI that's facilitated for the users that may not necessarily actually write instructions or write code on top of the actual data itself. And on the right-hand side, we have technical sophistication. And that's not in a sense of, I know Python better than you know Python, so I'm more technical. It's more of the way of how users actually interact with the data. So when I'm using technical here, we're referring specifically to who writes the instructions or who writes the logic on top of the data. Data analysts, they work in Excel. They can use a UI to download a lot of data. Data scientists and data engineers are a lot more hands-on, where they're a lot more technical. I come from a data engineering background, so of course I move data engineers a lot on the higher side compared to scientists. But when we look at what we actually see when we deal with some of the clients from the variety of the segments, there's a lot of information there, but the two main things are in the middle that I wanted to focus on. So one was visualization, and the second was an integrated ecosystem. So with regards to visualizations, one of the things that is important is to showcase the value of the data. At the end of the day, the data is still the product when you see the data application. So accelerating how we build visualizations and analytics is one of the most important things that I say that at least my team deals with, to be able to highlight what are the specific insights that you can derive from the data. And then finally, the integrated ecosystem. So if I just go back a slide, the reason why integrated ecosystem we think is important is because the way we approach building the applications is in those three layers, so that if a user likes what they see, they like the data, we can share the data. If a user wants to customize the actual logic or look into how it's built, we can share the data and the logic. So all of our code and everything that we've built is effectively within Databricks. So we can share not just data, but share the notebooks, share the Git repository, and finally the UI. The idea really is whatever level the user wants to use or whatever they want to replicate or customize, we're planning on what is the best way to do that. So everything is integrated. So a very brief example of kind of how we think about the actual process. And there's only 4 steps, but I can probably create maybe 4 million different other steps that we have. But to simplify it, we start with discovering. So what are the data sets available for us to build the different applications? We have a catalog, we have a marketplace. Everyone has a marketplace. It's just a way for us to discovering what data is available for us to solve the problem. We then explore it. We do a deep dive into the actual data. We test it, data dictionaries. We do summary statistics. We check what is all of the fields that are possible for us to use. We evaluate it. So there's some sort of criteria that dictates if this actually provides value. And then we think about then packaging it and delivering those insights to our users. How data applications fit into this process kind of sits between evaluation and productionization. So how we're using data applications is to accelerate the actual development and validation of those insights that we build. So we tend to work with clients to build proof of concepts within Databricks for trial purposes. And we plan on how to actually then package it up, deliver those insights across to users that might not necessarily write code. And then we gain insights from them actually using the applications and provide feedback. And then we either fine-tune models or we change how we approach the whole problem. How that looks kind of sequentially is something like this. So we start with the actual discovery phase. So as I mentioned, we have marketplace, which is we have all of our data sets, all of our solutions. Once we know what's available, we partner quite heavily with Databricks, specifically for the evaluation stage with our clients. So a client comes to us and they want to test a number of different data sets to explore if there's value in that data for their specific workflow. We spin up a brand new workspace with the client, with Databricks. We partner onto the workspace, we bring in the data, and we build maybe 60, 70% of the use case that they're describing that they want to do. So if you think of it from kind of the data structure perspective, in the workspace, we add all of the bronze data that we tend to, that we can provide to clients that they can purchase. We build the logic for the silver tables, and then it's the client's responsibility to then take that logic and define what the gold production tables is gonna look like. Where the apps come into play is that same process. We tend to, on certain things that we think provide significant value across multiple clients, multiple segments, we package those insights in a data application. So we manage pretty much the whole process. And then clients have a choice. If they want to subscribe to the data, they can purchase it from the standard ecosystem, so that's SFTP, Cloud API. But where we position the apps is we provide it to a much larger ecosystem, which is Capital IQ Pro, which is used for research, workflows, and valuations. So anything we build, we provide to our clients in a sense of, as we innovate, we want them to give us feedback if we're going in the right direction, if the model is correct, if we're thinking about approaching a certain problem the right way. So going back to the actual data applications, we split them, and it's a lot more complicated. We do performance testing, we do governance, security, etc. But when you see the applications, we build it in a very kind of distinct modular fashion. We kind of pretend we're a client of S&Ps. So we pretend we're a client, we take all of the external data as the initial input into the app. We use Databricks for all of the ingestions, the ETLs, the workflows, the jobs, etc. And then we simply use Plotly to accelerate the build process and packaging of the application. So some of the objectives that we have specifically, like I mentioned, is the data is still the product. So we still want to showcase the value of the data that we have available that our clients can use. And the second piece is we enhance analytics and integration. So as we build more and more complexity and more different use cases, almost like solution accelerators within Databricks, we're able to then share that same logic and that same experience that we've collected to clients from the same segments. In addition to that, we also have an Excel plugin, which Excel has its own limitations. And the majority of, there's a significant amount of users that use Excel for a lot of their evaluation work, a lot of their presentation. So Excel has limits in terms of it might not be the best for textual data, it might not have the most horsepower to the analysis. So once you see the applications, we also allow users to download some of the processed data, use the application as additional horsepower, and then continue doing the analysis and the performance in Excel, kind of combining two different tools in a new way. And finally, workflow validation before any significant investment. So as you can imagine, developing a brand new platform or a brand new application from start to finish takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. The goal really is to put the applications a lot closer to the developers that are building the insights, either to the data scientists or to the analysts, so that we accelerate how quickly we can iterate and get validation back from the users directly. Some of the challenges, just to note. So we have as I'm sure you saw in the keynote speech, there's an ever-increasing data estate, many different solutions, hundreds of different data sets, many different permutations. We're able to effectively, as we use Databricks, we're able to bring in and federate all of the different data sources into one place that help us actually build the apps. We're solving the challenges is also some analysts. There's different skills and needs that are evolving, where there's always been a kind of a dichotomy between users that use web applications and derive all of their they do all of their research on a platform versus those technical users that manipulate the data directly. So one thing that the apps allow us to solve is kind of a common ground between the two. And then finally, what additional challenges, there's always an unlimited number of enhancements that we want to be able to do. So how do we then prioritize and how do we scale the continuously updating the data within the apps and building more and more apps in a sense as an analytical library of many different apps, many different use cases that we're testing. I think just for the sake of time to save more time for the actual apps, I'm gonna maybe just skip this briefly. And the final 2 slides are my backup slides in case something goes down, so I can discuss about the apps. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm just going to switch over and show you what is the current user experience that clients can have. Hopefully that's changed. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is our kind of flagship platform, Capital IQ Pro, predominantly used for research and workflows across all of the different client segments. And we effectively created a new page on the platform that users can discover. So Labs is really kind of the home of innovation for Capital IQ Pro. So anything we're building or testing, or we want to share feedback with clients, or try any sort of new enhancements, we use Labs as a way to do that and get feedback from them. The 2 applications that we currently have available that clients are able to access is topical key phrases and trending topics. So what a user does is within Labs, they're able to start an application. And what you see here on the page is, let me open up the other one first, actually, as well. What you see here on the page is we have a React web page where the Dash application, the Plotly data application, is embedded within the actual page itself. So what this particular application solves for is we take our transcripts data. We decided to start with all of our textual data first, and we've built 2 applications. The first one that you see here allows you to search across tens of thousands of different transcripts in a couple of seconds, discovering what are some of the key themes that are trending across a company, a sector, or an index. And then the second application, just to briefly glimpse at it for context, we've taken a single transcript document, and we've effectively done topic modeling on top of the transcript to highlight and showcase what are the most significant topics that are being mentioned within one transcript, to increase how much information and insights an analyst can derive instead of reading the whole document. So starting with the first application. Okay, so how the application works is we've picked a random starting point from 2017, and we've taken the S&P 500 earning call transcripts. What we've done is we've then processed them as almost as a standard delta tables within Databricks with some sort of optimization. We've created a single a SQL endpoint that connects to the app. So every time a user effectively makes some sort of a change, hopefully you can actually see it. Maybe if I can zoom in a little bit, that should be better. So every time a user makes a change, it's effectively doing a callback, it's sending a request, and it's getting the latest available data from the database that we actually maintain and we update with the latest transcripts. The application allows a user to pick some sort of a universe, either a single company, it could be a sector or an index, which we have for the S&P 500. And it gives them the option to type in some sort of a keyword, so either a single keyword or 2 keywords, a bigram or a unigram. So what it does at the moment is it takes that keyword and it searches across about 12,000 different transcripts, and then it creates a visualization based on kind of what keywords the user is interested in discovery. And if you give it a second, it's going to load up and present 2 different visualizations. So the first one is how many raw mentions of the word ESG has occurred for the S&P 500. The second is how many unique companies have actually said the word ESG within the transcripts. So we're given 2 different dimensions of the same data set. And this was actually an inbound request that came in from a client that they wanted to see if it's possible for us to do, how easy it is for us to do. And we decided to convert it effectively to a data application, which actually our news team that does research uses to generate some of the research articles. And to give you an idea of the value that it does for them, this used to take the news team effectively a couple of days to be able to extract and find all of this data. And instead now it takes them a couple of clicks to find out, to do the same thing using the application. Another thing that you can then do is you can start creating your own buckets of keywords. or you can do inflation, you can do high inflation. And think of this almost as a smart search, which is kind of optimized for you to create up to 10 different keywords into a single bucket. You're able to aggregate all of the keywords into a single line, and then you're able to effectively search and discover what's trending across the universe that you're interested in. The integration piece also allows a user to then export exactly the same data that you see into Excel, so that they can then blend this data with any other data into research, into presentations, and just gives a direct access point to anybody that uses Excel to kind of commingle two different data sets or data sources, or if you're using the Excel plugin, for example. So we're also in the process of, we probably have to tweak this a little bit, but we also wanted to build to see if we're able to also allow users to discover what is trending, where we build a statistical model that tries to capture momentum in specific keywords that are trending. So it could be, for example, as you can imagine, everything is pretty much AI, Gen AI. The model works over the last, it takes current 3 months, and it compares it to the history of the tokens, and anything that's statistically significant it gets shown up for each sector, and we're only showing the top 10. We're trying to create hockey stick charts, if you're familiar with them, where there's a sudden spike to just showcase something new that's trending. Sometimes it works. We have to do maybe a little bit of cleaning because certain, like for example, analysts' names get picked up. When there's a new analyst covering a company, it gets mentioned in earning transcripts, they start to appear. So there's a few things that we can do to optimize it. We're also trying to make this, like I mentioned, transparent and easy to recreate for clients. So we showcase what are the data sets that we use, and we're also starting to write up the methodology documents for the specific app, how it's built, how it's designed, showcase all of the different steps and examples of the actual logic, how it feeds into the UI, and so on. So that's the first app. The second app goes a step further, and what we do is, instead of allowing kind of users to search for specific keywords, how do we showcase in a specific document what are the most significant themes and topics that either the C-suite or the analysts on the call have been speaking about? So to give you a brief just structure of what the data looks like, if you see underneath, hopefully it's not cutting it, if you see underneath, this is what a typical earnings call transcript looks like. You have on average about 10,000 words, which will probably take 20, 40 minutes for somebody to read and scan. So what we want to do is we want to take each document that analysts tend to read every time there's a new earnings call, and we want to be able to showcase and abstract from everything that's being discussed what are the most significant topics and themes that are being mentioned either in the presentation, so either in the C-suite, the directors that are speaking, or in the Q&A section that are being discussed. And we want to also allow users to visualize stuff that they might have missed or certain topics that might cluster together. So what we decided to do, and what the user experience actually is a user starts with a specific company of interest. So let's just say S&P Global. We load the most recent documents available for the earnings call transcript for the company. And we have an automated pipeline that adds, anytime there's a new document, every time there's an earning call transcript, it gets added effectively to the data application. So you're using the most latest available data. And then we have effectively an unsupervised model that takes that raw data, and it then generates the unsupervised kind of topics that are most significant for that document. And the value then here is a user can select up to 10 different topics, highlight them, select update, and then we allow kind of two core things. One is the visualization of where those topics were mentioned. So each time there is a new speaker, we have a new section that appears on the visualization. And then we take all of the topics and all of the raw text that's used into the model as an input that then highlights it within the text. So here's the structure. You have the first speaker is the operator, always on one of these documents. You have the operator then passes it on to a new speaker, and then each number next to the executive is effectively a new section on the visualization. So the goal then is, without actually reading into the text, without spending a lot of time going into the actual, the raw text itself, you could scan through on the visualization and see, of course, the presentation section, a lot of the key topics are discussed by the executives. But the Q&A becomes a lot more interesting because then analysts are allowed to ask any questions they want, not any questions they want, but any questions that are relevant for the actual Q&A. And you can see, to begin, certain themes that emerge. So let's just hide all of the sections that do not contain any of the kind of significant key phrases. So it's a little bit more neater. And then the visualization becomes also your navigation panel. So we see, let's just say we want to see energy transition. So energy transition is one of the significant themes that's discussed. I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you hover over, you can see the raw text that the model uses to actually label the topic. And then if you use the heat map, that's your main navigation. So I want to read, for example, energy transition with labels of asset classes on top. You can use the heat map, and it will take you to the specific section that's been labeled from. So that now as an analyst, instead of browsing through Control F or trying to find or reading the whole transcript, if there's a specific topic of interest, you highlight it, you navigate to it, and then you can read the raw text that it's actually based upon. And we also provide an additional functionality. If you hover over it, you're able to see all of the related phrases and how they link. That's the main kind of functionality with regards to the app. Anytime there's a new transcript, we run it through the model, we store the data, and the data becomes immediately exposed to the data app for users to then use to derive insights. And this was actually done in partnership with the data science team and partnership with the product team, where they're planning to productionize the model in, let's say, 3, 6, 9 months. So what we've done really here is we've taken the same model that's going to be used in production, and we've accelerated how quickly we provide access to the users to actually test it and validate it. And because it's a data application, of course, it goes both ways. So we show the data that's available, but users can also provide feedback on the model, and we can use it if we have to fine-tune it or if we have to check if there's any issues with the actual data. So users have direct access to provide feedback before the actual model goes into production. I think in terms of main content, functionality, these are the two kind of core applications that we've provided. We have an additional app that we're working on that we're focusing a lot more on deriving sentiment on a lot of our textual data. But the general kind of message here is we're taking the hundreds of different data sets that we have and different solutions. We're working with clients directly to figure out what are the most relevant problems for them. We take all of our data, load it into Databricks, bring in product managers, data scientists, analysts, all in one location on one platform in Databricks, and then develop the insights that we want to create to provide to our clients and accelerate in a much quicker fashion. This was kind of the whole message that I had for you guys for the presentation. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time.